I'm Maria Schwartz, and welcome to the Winsidr Show, where it's all about the W. Lynx, 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 holding the league's best combined record after the last two seasons, 64-20. The lone Minnesota dynasty has had an offseason of change, and is more change coming? Lots to discuss with my guest today. Before we get into today's show, just a quick reminder, Winsidr is a fully independent WNBA news site with everything we do being supported by listeners like you. If you enjoy what we're doing here, you can keep it going by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Winsidr. That's patreon.com/Winsidr. With pricing levels for everyone, you directly support the hard work we're doing to cover the W year round. We've also got a full team producing written coverage over at winsidr.com, plus more content than ever across TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you're in the market for WNBA gear, check out the affiliate links in the show notes and on winsidr.com. You rep the league, and Winsidr gets a little support along the way. Welcome back to the show. Excited to be here. My guest today is Lynx beat writer Andrew Dukowitz. Andrew, love your work. Been a big fan. Been retweeting you for a while now. Excited to finally have you on the show and chat Lynx. Also, I'm just going to throw this out there. For anybody listening who hasn't, honestly, at this point, it would be so annoying to scroll back and find it. You had some amazing mathematical breakdowns during the CBA negotiations as information was leaking out. And I really appreciated it because while I always had a sneaking suspicion of certain things, when somebody who you trust does the math, and with like a disclaimer of like, hey, maybe my numbers are a little bit off. I've double checked it, blah, blah. But like, I can go into it and read that and feel like, oh, this backed up what my gut feeling was. So very appreciative on a personal level. And as a WNBA fan, blah, blah, blah. Talk a little. How you doing? What's going on?
Good, man. Lynx training camp in effect. Third and a half year on the beat, I guess. So I will give you a shout out. Back when I first got credentialed and I had 145 Twitter followers, you were one of them. Somehow you found me like right away, which the sleuthing that you had to do to figure that one out must have been impressive. But yeah,
That's my claim to fame.
through this whole like CBA process, it just smelt fishy, right? Like the league is throwing out whole numbers of like what a max salary will be. And the players are still saying like, yeah, we want 30-40% revenue share. And it's not that difficult to just find information on what basketball related revenue was for the WNBA last year. Like most of the TV contracts are like publicly traded. The league doesn't post any of their profits or anything publicly, but like you can do a very minimal amount of Googling and find out most of the information. And you just kind of backtrack and it's like, yeah, what the league started out offering was the same or less than the revenue share that the players have gotten really since 2020, which of course it then lasts 6 months of holdout because the players aren't going to just accept the same deal knowing that, you know, the TV contracts especially are going to go from like 40 million in 2025 or 2024 to between 300 and 400 million in 2026. Like that's insane that the players would accept that. But I think the last kind of CBA thought I had just recently is like, I think a lot of people were kind of down on the players for taking the 20% revenue share. But then if you just do the math on how many millions of dollars are going to be sent out to past players in this kind of like reward system for terms of service, they probably gave up like 10% of revenue share to reward past players, which talked to Waylon last night. She's pretty pumped to get some yard work done. And, you know, next vet bill will be a little bit more affordable with that check coming in the mail. Sarcastic as always, but just like CBA talk, shout out to the players because I don't think there's another league that just was like, no, these players were playing for peanuts. I mean, K-Mac with its overall pick and made $40,000 her rookie season. Like that's not a livable wage.
No, and that's pre-tax.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's like the numbers just, and everyone will try and justify and blah blah. And like, look, I'm not here to argue any way, shape, or form. My point the whole time has been there is a pie. There is money being made. The slice of the pie that the owners were getting was very large, and they didn't want to give up a piece of their pie. They enjoy the pie, just like any other business. The players, deservingly so, hungry, want some more pie. Find a compromise that everybody's happy, everyone's eating enough pie. Let me guarantee you, the owners are still making enough money. Let me guarantee you, the players are making a lot more money. Could they make more? Sure. Like, could they have accepted a deal earlier on and not made as much? Also, sure. So, like, we are here. It's going to be really interesting once everything kind of settles in like 2-3 years and reflecting back, because we're not going to know if this was a quote unquote good deal or a bad deal until a few years down the road. So we'll definitely revisit this. All right, back to the Lynx. Free agent reactions and draft
good.
thoughts.
Free action.
It sounded good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm like, why isn't that how it? Yeah. Okay. What I've talked about this already. I view the Lynx as the losers of free agency. Maybe a dark horse winner, if they're able to keep some of these overseas players that they were able to bring on, and or maybe if one of them is able to convince her Belgian teammate to join. Talking Emma Meesman. But still dubbing them right now probably the losers of free agency. Your reactions to the Minnesota Lynx free agency? You can disagree with me. That's cool.
My first reaction is I was just wrong on how it would play out. Like, just dead wrong. Didn't understand certainly how much money would play a factor in it. And I think...
What was your prediction?
I thought they would retain, K-Mac, Fee, Courtney, and Lan, and then one of T, Jessica Shepard, or Dejanay. And they didn't retain any of them. They only got their big three back, which I thought, Lan wouldn't be getting a max contract. I mean, at the time she inked that contract, she was the highest paid player in the WNBA, which I adore Lan. I think she's a wonderful human being. I feel like very soon I'm not going to have to put qualifiers on this because she's now a millionaire, but like, just got to put the qualifiers on of like, she was one of my favorite people across Gophers, Wolves, Lynx to cover. Like, she's just an awesome human, great basketball player. She does not deserve it. Like, on the Lynx, she did not deserve a max contract. If she was coming back from the Lynx, it would probably be closer to like 800,000, 900,000, maybe a 1 or 2 year deal like K-Mac and Court. But arguably, she was the fourth best player on the team last year. Like,
and playoffs kind of disappeared, if we're being real. Exactly. There are a couple showouts, but yeah.
So I think first I read the situation wrong. I thought Lan maybe would take less money and come back. I thought T would take less money and come back. Or like if T left, like Dejanay would come back. Or if both of those left, like Shepard would come back. But the reality is the top 9 players on the Lynx are making $10 million collectively. And with the $7 million salary cap, you got to figure out how to sign the rest of your roster. So I think players kind of surprised even the Lynx, Cheryl especially, of wanting the bag, as she has learned is a term. And they all went elsewhere, which I think, kind of to your point, like they might be a sneaky winner of free agency a couple of years from now. I mean, you look at Dallas next offseason, they're going to have Paige on the last year of a rookie contract. They're going to have Jess and Lan making $2.3, $2.4 million combined. And then Fudd on a second year of the highest contract of rookies. Like, I don't know how that team exists next year as it is.
I mean, I don't know. Liberty make it work. Who knows?
Unfortunately, like, Dallas has all these people signed though. So like, to round out a team when 4 players are making probably like $3.5-4 million, like that's just, it's tough. So I'm a little more positive on the Lynx overall though. So kind of looking in retrospect of like the Lan contract. Well, that's just an unrealistic contract for the Lynx to give Lan. So I think that was a smart pass by them. Jess making $1 million, delightful person, really good off the bench for them last year. She was the 7th best player on the team. Like, you can't pay your 7th best player $1 million in the salary cap. T, obviously that one hurt, fan favorite. But again, like, you can't pay her $750,000 to be maybe the 6th or 8th best player. It just, looking at all of these deals independently, it just makes sense what they chose to do. I do kind of agree with you, as they are like the quote unquote loser of free agency right now, because like this team is unrecognizable. Like 5 players out of their top 11 returned from last year. 3 of their top 9 returned, and Fee is going to be out for at least a couple months here. That's tough. And now it's just kind of on Cheryl to try and reinvent this team again, which, Tosh Howard, like that signing. I think that'll be a good move come playoff time. Nia Coffey, really like that move as well.
Yep.
In 2020, she was a 40% 3-point shooter on good volume for the Sparks. I kind of anticipate Cheryl will figure out how to get that out of her again. And Olivia Miles seems like a heck of a prospect. So I think that this offseason 2 years from now, we'll look back on it and say, this was a pivot in the franchise, and maybe we're looking back a little more fondly. But boy, did it sting. Like, it stunk for fans, players, Cheryl, everybody in that building. It was hard to explain, like the press conference with Court T and Fee, because it was almost like a funeral vibe where it was just no one knew what to say.
I'll add to this, like, something had to change. Like, let's be real. Yes, they had the best record the past 2 years, but like New York Liberty are actively making change. You didn't win it. First of all, you didn't win a championship in those 2 years. So yes, you had the best record. It means nothing, like, to be blunt, except that you're getting a worse draft pick. And then you look at what Vegas is doing. Vegas is poised for greatness still. You can make arguments about Atlanta. I think if the coaching staff and the front office of Minnesota was looking themselves in the mirror, honestly, going into this offseason, it's if we retain this team, the full team, our bench needs to be adjusted. We need something different. We need to inject a little bit of differences. Now, obviously, Dorka coming back is a huge one. Coming off, now, is she going to be healthy? We don't know right now.
Yeah.
Coming off a EuroLeague MVP season, that is huge, youngest player ever to get it. Dorka is on a path to stardom. But how does that work with Fee? How does that work with the current style of this roster? Are you playing her and Fee together? I personally really like that. I like that in that playoff run 2 years ago. How is that? There's a lot of questions there. I personally, my take is they need, even if they ran back last roster, they need more shooting. Losing Chechi was a huge loss to this team going into last year. They never really, and like Carlton's 3-point shooting and just shooting in general was not there last year as it was the year before. So yeah, like, I think movement had to happen. I mean, like, we can just look at the current roster that we're talking about. Courtney, Olivia Miles, K-Mac, Kosu, Coffey, Howard, Dorka, Fee. That's 8 players. So we still have 4 spots that are widely open. I would say for the most part, I would expect those players that I just listed to be locks. That leaves 4 spots plus 2 developmental spots. I'm very curious of these overseas players. Emma, Aliska, Antonia. They're great additions. They have a lot of potential. They can be sneaky, classic Cheryl Reeve. Shout out to Rachel Galligan. Classic Minnesota Lynx finding overseas talents. And so I don't want to downplay where I think this team can be, especially when you look at some of the other rosters in this league. I'm not talking about them. They're not making the playoffs. But I do think in a sense of readjusting the expectations from a championship window to now this season is not that. Before we got on here, and I think you talked me off the ledge of saying it's a wash, but I still stand by to a degree that this season is a wash, in the sense of they're saying Fee's coming back early June, right? That's less than a month or a month into the season, let's say, right? Not the biggest deal. As we said, you don't just all of a sudden plop back in and you're running 40-minute games, right? Like, there's going to be a period of time. End of June, maybe she's playing 15 minutes. Mid-July, maybe finally she's back to her, 30-plus minute games. Maybe. So, like, we're talking about a situation where the team isn't even at its full. Now, that's an argument for a great aspect. You have a Cheryl Reeve, greatest coach in WNBA history. get to the playoffs and just charge through. And I get that. Before we get into that, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the MVP signing a 1-year contract. We've talked on the state of the Lynx. We've talked about this change. Also, side note, something you didn't mention that I think does need to be mentioned. And none of us, maybe you know, and you can tell me shut up. We don't know who the Lynx protected, right? Like
No,
in the expansion draft. And I got questions because some of it may, and I agree that maybe Cheryl goes into it thinking some of these players weren't going to be swayed by the bag. I think that would be a little naive of her, but also even in those situations of not assuming they're leaving for the bag, kind of hedging your bets and maybe locking down a Masha or one of these other players might have been a little bit smarter for trade value or just for this next season situation. But the one thing that I wanted to say was Carrington's injury and Minnesota not wanting to go into the season with Carrington and Fee, 2 impact high players hurt, not knowing the situation. I totally understand why. Like when you look at them individually, I get it.
Yeah.
But when you look at it as a whole, the 4 of 7, right? The 4 of the first 7 for Minnesota gone. That's a huge one. All right. Sorry. I'm all over the place.
No,
There's so much to talk about.
Just to add off of that quick, like, again, like you look at these deals individually and every deal, it's like, yeah, that was a smart, fiscally responsible decision. Like, good job. You're keeping your books in order. But as a whole, like I said, it's a gut punch. I mean, I do think this team's expectations do need to be adjusted for the regular season. Like if Fee is out until June, not fully back until July, let's say, like they're probably going like 12-8 in their first 20 games, which is a heck of a lot different than they were last season. I think where the Lynx, they still get some expectation is come playoff time. Like if they are healthy and they have Court, K-Mac, and Fee all locked in lockstep, ready to go. Miles has progressed past some of those like rookie blockades that happened throughout the season. You do have Nia Coffey, you have Tosh Howard. I do expect them to add another player during camp, whether it's a player that gets cut or someone that comes from overseas. Again, Emma Meesman is a big name. And then Dorka, if she's good, like this is going to be a team that's 7 deep at the moment. And that top 7, I mean, potentially could have 3 all-stars again this year, which that's a team that then you're a Stewie sprained ankle away from being in the finals. And then and then who knows? I mean, again, in modern basketball, you shoot 60% from 3 one game, you steal it. No team can come back against that. And you can see the path. They're still probably like the 4th or 5th best team right now in the league, I would say. I think Atlanta, who you mentioned, I think they're going to be a juggernaut. You know, Aces, Liberty are pretty.
Indiana, even.
Indiana, I got to see it.
I definitely got to see it, but I'll put them in the discussion of like not like, to me, I tier it as the guaranteed top teams. We're looking at Vegas, we're looking at New York, right?
And then there's kind of before you get
exactly
4 or 5.
And where those and honestly, something that popped into my head talking about fiscally responsible moves in free agency, flashback to the last CBA. I don't know if it was immediately after, but right around that, Cheryl Reeve making a horrible move as the GM, signing Aerial Powers, Natalie Achanwa, and K-Mac to these huge contracts that really tied them down for a while. Yeah. There was someone else I'm blanking. Was it Don? Somebody else was had one of those really bad contracts, not as bad as Powers and Achanwa. But learning that lesson to me is a positive sign for Cheryl Reeve as the GM to go, oh, okay, I'm not going to make that same mistake in a new CBA that I did before. And yeah, no, I hear that.
It's just, this isn't going to be the front runner they were last season. Like that. I pretty frequently last season, when you look at like the advanced analytics, this was the 72-10 Golden State Warriors of the WNBA. They were first in pretty much everything. The fact they didn't win a championship should be talked as a huge disappointment. Like, yes, Dejanay, yes, Fee got hurt, but like that was a massive miss off of the regular season they had. And this season, it's a different reality. It's, can this team get in as the 6th seed? And then what can they do as the 6 seed? Can they get in as a 5 or 4 seed and get a good path to a finals? Can they position themselves to be healthy and then roll the ball out, right? Like you said, Cheryl is, I kind of think, unquestionably the best coach in the league. And this team is going to be good when they're full strength. It's going to be a tough start to the season. I mean, these players are still learning fun facts about each other. No one knows each other.
Answer me this. Like, when you think back to last season and how the Lynx changed from, because people also forget Fee had a midseason injury also, how the team changed from, and that's obviously it's a completely different roster, completely different team. You know, that team I think was more built around Fee than necessarily this team is. That other team was built to like prop her up. But you know, 2 years ago, she had an injury also, and the team looked great when she was gone. Last year, she's gone. The team looks pretty good, then starts to sputter a little bit. Then she comes back and they struggle, and then they find their path again, but they never really looked like that same top team. So I'm kind of curious of how that plays into this year. But all right, we've been skirting around this. Elephant in the room. On a scale from Courtney Williams' self-confidence to Cheryl Reeve jacket toss / ejection, where are you on Fee staying a Lynx, either for this whole year or after the year for an extended period of time? Because that's the question we're all asking. Fee signs a 1-year contract. I think it's pretty, like, look, let me just lay out for anyone who doesn't know. You can make the argument that says the team was a little bit hesitant to offer a longer term contract coming off of those injuries. I don't buy that because I think she's the face of the franchise. She's the team. You sign her to a multiple year, or you want to sign her to a multiple year. Worst case, she comes back and she is not the player, but she's earned that commitment from you as a team. So for me, I'm saying this based off of my own knowledge, not anything else. Like, it just makes sense that this was not a team decision, but a player decision. So that gets me concerned. Now, obviously, I'm putting together the puzzle blind, but that gets me concerned. That's why I'm asking this question.
On the scale that you gave, I think I would rate it as Dejanay grabbing Bridget Carlton's towel to cover up a Cheryl crash out level of concern. There is some concern there, enough.
The perfect answer. The perfect answer.
Enough to grab BC's towel to try and block out a fraction of a frame.
Wait a second. How did that not guarantee Carrington a spot on this roster? That's the real question.
That will be my Halloween costume. This Halloween is just the Gatorade towel that Dejanay stole from BC.
No, it's going to be auctioned on eBay.
It needs to be. Dejanay could make some money off of that. No, I think I have gotten a little more concerned after digging into things more. I mean, when it first came out, it was okay. Maybe Fee's setting herself up for a bigger payday next year. CBA is expected to, like, the salary cap's expected to jump again a little bit. Like, maybe it's that. But then you look at the Sabrina deals, the Asia deals that are kind of hard baked in based off of like a percentage of the cap and not necessarily dollar marks. And it's like, okay, well, if that's an option, like, that's probably not why Fee did it, unless Fee just didn't understand the CBA that she negotiated, which seems very unlikely. Obviously there's maybe the team didn't want to. I don't buy that either. Like, Fee is the face of the franchise. Her and Cheryl have an amazing relationship. I don't think there's any world where the Lynx weren't saying, here's a blank check, put the number that you can in it, and let's get this done. I'm not like freaking out about it because I do think it makes sense for a player like Fee. You know, the roster has had such turnover. A lot of these players have left. I think it's like a smart business decision to leave yourself an out. I'm not going to say she's going to take this out. I mean, the Lynx have treated her very well. Her and Cheryl do have like a ridiculously good relationship. I mean, Fowles and Simone have talked about how, like, they see the same type of leadership and things in Fee that they had when they were here. Like, she is the legacy of that original dynasty. I think that means something to Fee, but there's also, like, you know, A-Rod goes on the Wolves broadcast and says that Cheryl called him in as the big guns to help negotiate the contract. And that makes me wonder, like, was this an A-Rod thing. Was this, Fee is a person that is very true to her beliefs and kind of her morals, and is it a disagreement with ownership type of thing? Is it a, hey, we want to see what you guys are going to invest in this team after taking it over to make sure that we're going to continue to have the best kind of facilities, equipment, doctors, things like that. From that sense, I don't blame Fee. Like, we've seen LeBron do that for half of his career, taking 1-year deals to kind of put the fire at ownership and the team to continue to make like investments in it. I just don't know Fee well enough to know if that's like where her kind of compass is, if that makes sense. If that's the way she would want to urge the team to do that. So again, if I had to guess right now, is Fee gone mid-season? Does she get traded or does she leave next season? I would say I don't think she's gone. I think she's really just trying to give herself an out in case this team is terrible this year, or like Courtney falls off, or like something catastrophic happens. Cheryl retires at the end of this. You never know what could happen. I think she's giving herself more of an out in case things go really poorly. That being said, it's going to loom over this entire season. And her answer at the press conference didn't really help anything when she's like, I'm focused on winning a championship. Like, okay, you can win a championship on a 3-year deal too. Like,
yeah. And also like you're focused on, I guess for me, the part that is frustrating as you look at it is that it's a 1-year deal. Really, it's a half a season deal. Yeah. I've seen jerks arguing that she shouldn't be taking this big a contract. No,
take money.
Take your money. You deserve it. You fought for it. You earned it. You have put literally your body on the line.
I mean, dual ankle surgery. There's a world where she gets sepsis and dies. So I'd say her like,
oh my God. Yeah. So take it to whatever extreme you want. But no, like, my thing is we're talking about a half a season contract.
Yeah.
Like, or not a full season contract. So if you're committed to, I get you're committed to winning a championship. And that's why I say it's almost a wash in the sense of like, you're not giving your full season. You're not giving it a full season. You're not giving it your full season. So that's where the concern is. And now because, I am a born and raised Minnesota sports fan. So you have to
go.
The
last thing, just to interrupt you quick, I do want to just say there is also a world where Fee goes, hey, I'm getting $1.4 million to play half a season. You guys have a chance to get X free agent next year. I'll take $800,000 on 3 years. I get paid enough through endorsements and everything else. Kind of like what Kelsey Plum did. Like everybody gave her, oh my goodness, you took less money to stay with the Sparks. And it's like, yeah, but Kelsey Plum has like 37 endorsement deals. She has an AI replicant of herself. Like, she doesn't need $200,000. Like, Jessica Shepard needs $200,000,
Yeah.
There is a world where that is part of it too, where they say, hey, Fee, we're going to give you this for half a year. We'll scratch your back. You scratch ours. Conspiracy theory. That's why they met with A-Rod and this is all just 3D chess. I don't know, which that's again, that it's the cloud that's going to hang over this entire season is why did Fee sign a 1-year deal? Anytime there's a 3-game losing streak, all of the fans are going to panic. Anytime there's a 3-game winning streak, all of the fans are going to panic. So it just, again, until she inks a new deal with the Lynx, it's just going to be a really unfortunate storyline, I'd say. But continue.
Yeah, no.
I wanted to add that.
No, totally. And I'll add, like, to your point about the new ownership, like, I've been very critical of this new ownership. We have not seen them, at least from my understanding, at many Lynx games. No. We have not seen them as vocal, as forward-facing towards the Lynx. And that's why, I've seen a lot of pushback. Oh, there was the lawsuit and they were told they had to stay away from the team and blah, blah. That did not stop them from being at every single Timberwolves game when they were in their playoff run. That did not stop them from meeting with the Timberwolves on side meets and things like that. So, like, don't give me this. Like, we have not seen, and let me be abundantly clear, were the past ownership of the Lynx perfect? No. But they showed, whether you like them or not, they showed a commitment, and they were not giving fully equal treatment to the Timberwolves and Lynx, but they were giving that, like, top level treatment to the Lynx. And we have not seen, I'm not saying that there's been a drop off, but we have not seen that commitment by ownership in terms of where we have seen them and their voice and their words and their actions. So when similar to you, when I hear that they're having meetings, Cheryl's calling them the big dogs. That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
That they have to call in ownership for either you're saying ownership had to be involved to say, hey, we're actually invested in this, which is a horrible sign, or ownership came in to say like, we're invested in this. What do you need from us? Which is again, not like there's no good sign from it. And
the other side of it too is like, and I pride myself on not being political as a sports journalist, but I know that picture with A-Rod in the Oval Office sent some really big waves through the WNBA. I mean, just the optics of it was not good. So is that what it is? Of like, hey, we got to clear the air on like what's going on here. To your point though, no matter what it is, it's not a good thing when you're calling in Alex Rodriguez, unless you're like the 2008 Yankees, I guess maybe. That was probably a good time. Calling A-Rod in before the steroids and stuff. But yeah, it's such a weird situation with Fee.
And like just to even, because my mind goes to doom and gloom as a born and bred Minnesota sports fan, then it goes to, okay, at what point does front office, and like, again, this is a crazy path down there, but I'm throwing it out there, at what point, and that's why I asked, does she end the season as a Lynx? Because at a certain point, you have to think as ownership, what's our long-term plan? We've done everything right with her, but that if the season ends and she's a UFA, unrestricted free agent, she can just walk. Now, would I kind of assume that if she's planning on walking, she'll be nice and do the hometown discount where she sign and trade to go to her preferred destination? Probably. I would hope. I would, especially given this whole situation, I would hope. But that's not a guarantee. That's not demanded of somebody. So at a certain point, Cheryl Reeve in ownership or not ownership or for not, whatever you want to say, somebody in that office is looking at themselves and going, do we move? If she, like, we know, hopefully, an honest conversation with Fee, what the reason is for all this. Do we move on or not? And that's where I think the questions and the torture for fandom will get even worse this season. Because like you said, 2-game losing streak. Let's say they say Fee's expected back early June. Let's say a little bit of a hiccup. She doesn't get back till end of June. What, like, at all of these stages, I'm not saying that any of these things are going to happen. I'm just I'm posing the questions that the fandom is going to be posing throughout this season, which will be, destroying people's psyches. You talked about Natisha leaving the team because at Winsidr, we were like working on a graphic for the breaking news article. My son is, a diehard Fee, Court, and Natisha fan.
Yeah.
And he looked at me with like tears building up in his eyes. And he looks at me, he's like, but are Courtney and Natisha still friends? And I'm like, they are still best friends. Natisha's just going to the Storm. And she's like, but we don't like the Storm. They're not the Lynx. And I'm like, I know. That's the part of basketball. This stuff happens. The fandom it's gonna be rough. But I like how you broke down, now that we talked about Fee, the expectations of this roster. Are there any? I believe we're recording. What day is it today? Tuesday? Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday.
We're recording Wednesday. I believe practice was canceled today for the Lynx. Am I wrong about that? Am I right? Okay, cool.
It was canceled for the Lynx, and boy, do people already go into doom spirals with canceled practices. They ran an hour and a half late yesterday and 2 hours late on Monday, and the Wolves are in town playing the Nuggets in the playoffs on Thursday. So I think the Lynx are still doing like a film session and doing like runs. But when you go 3 hours over on practice and a playoff team is back in town, the Wolves did that for the Lynx in training camp this year, where they moved their schedule around for the Lynx. I think the Lynx are just kind of repaying the favor of like, yep, you guys can have the gym. You're going for a playoff run. Remember this in October when we're going for a playoff run. We'll all play nice. So I don't think there's anything malicious to it, though.
I mean, look, as someone who hates the men's side of the men's league on this, kick them out. I don't care. Let them. No, I'm joking. I know a lot of listeners love the Timberwolves. I don't care.
Fair.
Okay. So, yeah, no, I'm like, look, this is a reason ownership needs to buy more space so that we can have both going at once. But whatever, not here nor there. Um, for you, actually, the thing that I'm really curious, obviously, we haven't talked about Olivia Miles enough. We're running low on time, but Olivia Miles, a player who I think also, just to tailpin into that fee conversation, you add an electric, exciting player like Olivia Miles, maybe that reinvigorates fee a little bit. Maybe now having more of maybe an argument of a true point guard, maybe makes her feel a little bit more comfortable because to me, it boils down to this as terms of expectations for the Lynx this year and moving forward. To win a championship, you need an MVP caliber player. Uh, you can win two types of ways. You can build a team around them, or you can put a super team around them. It doesn't matter if you have a super team of all stars. You still need that MVP caliber player. Um, the Lynx were doing a great job of building around Fee and then attempting to one by one replace those role players with superstars to compete against, the likes of Vegas and New York. Uh, where we're at now on that is going to be curious if Fee isn't around future. But if she is around future, the possibilities of having Olivia Miles with Fee is a scary thing. Talk to me about, what you think Olivia Miles brings to this roster. And then if there's any of these other players who aren't of the noted 8 that we should be making note of.
Yeah, I mean, first, just to touch on your Fee leaving point, like they can't have another Maya Moore situation. Like I respect the hell out of Maya Moore. Sorry, I dropped an HE double hockey sticks, but like I respect her a ton for all of the work she's done for social justice and criminal justice reform and all of that stuff. Like she is a better person than most people on the planet, but she left the Lynx with nothing. Like when she left, the Lynx got nothing in return. That cannot happen with Fee. If Fee, whether it's injury retirement, whether it's leaving in free agency, you cannot lose that caliber of player again for nothing. So I completely agree. Like if there is more to this, the Lynx run a really tight ship, but other teams around the league do not. If there is more to this, there is going to start being like trade rumors of like Atlanta is sniffing around to see what the status is on Fee. Like it will start if there's more to this, which I think that's just important to acknowledge that like that would be worst case scenario. Training camp, like Olivia Miles is just awesome. Like first off, as a personality standpoint, she's super interesting, like really into video games, working out stuff with 2K right now to get an NBA 2K. Super like outdoorsy, just seems like a fun personality, really funny, charming. I think she fits with kind of like the roster vibe where you have K-Mac, who's very fun and charming. Courtney is Courtney and Fee is Fee, obviously, but like, I think it'll fit personality wise. On the court, it's going to be interesting. I think to start the year, she probably is in that like Natisha Heidemann coming off the bench role. And maybe you're seeing Nia Coffey start at 3 and they're just kind of winging it to see what happens. I kind of expect them to run a 3-guard lineup by the end of the season. Like I do think Court and Liv can play together. I think Court's ability to just run off pick and rolls and get to the mid range and just snipe, as well as kind of dive under the rim and kick the ball out. And now you have Liv, who just has this all world kind of court vision. If she's getting a kick out pass, like that is going to be light years better than BC getting the kick out pass last year. Like I think it's going to be a fun on-court product with her, K-Mac, and Court by the end of the season. Again, beginning of the season, it's going to be weird though, because Courtney for the last 3 years has tried to reprogram her brain into being a lead point guard and making all of these right decisions. Now she doesn't have Fee, and I think they're really going to embrace kind of the Courtney Williams chaos of, hey, you got to go out and win this one, which that's going to be really interesting to see. K-Mac also looks like she's in the best shape of her life, honestly. I mean, talked about it yesterday. She lost 16 pounds from the end of the last season, and it's put on all muscle to replace it. So I think she's going to be poised for a really good start to the season as well. Kind of down the roster, though, I think Jalen Sherrod is going to make this team. They, extended that qualifying offer right away. They really like her in the building, good personality fit. Lonnie White from Utah, I think they were pretty excited about when they drafted her. Near 40% 3-point shooter, kind of a 3-and-D player. Seems like she's just a really serious human being, which Cheryl likes those people as well. You mentioned the 3 Euro players coming in. I mean, we haven't really seen much of them because they're all in Europe still playing. And Ola, we haven't seen because she's still in Russia playing. I kind of expect Ola to get maybe a little bit more run this year, just to see how she's progressed over the last year. Aubrey Griffin, I think, is an interesting prospect as well. Spent all year with the team last year as an injured member. She knows the system. Last person I'll just met, Amaya Battle, Gophers standout, Hopkins grad, second best player on that Sweet 16 team. Waylon recruited her to stay in Minnesota when she was in high school. And like, I covered the Gophers women this year. There's just something about her. Like, she'll go 1 for 7 shooting and then grab 9 rebounds as a guard. Like, wow. There's just something about her. Like, I can't say she's like guaranteed a development spot this year, but maybe it's a Reagan Richardson situation where she's one of the last people cut. They tell her to go play in Europe, and then she's back in training camp next year and kind of makes a more of a play for the roster. But there's just a lot of like interesting young players on this team, which they haven't had that since 2023 probably.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be, again, I don't know if it'll be good right away, but it'll be interesting.
It'll be fun. And like, it'll be fun to like, for sports fans, like the Vikings this past year, no one expected them to win a Super Bowl unless like JJ went off crazy. But it's going to be fun because it's going to be different. And there's going to be, you know, sparks of what the future possibilities could be. Also, I feel like, and maybe this is like wrong of me, but Battle, I feel like might have a downside to them being from Minnesota, because there's an element maybe in the back of a longstanding Lynx WNBA mind of being like, if we cut you and you're not necessarily signed to another developmental spot on a different team, we can keep you around because you're already in town. Which is like dark secret of the W. It's pretty like, this is a common thing that teams keep players around. Say, hey, we'll put you up in a hotel for a while.
Yeah.
Stick around. You're not taking part of team practices. Maybe they, you know, get you a pass to Lifetime and you can go play at this Lifetime. And some of the teammates randomly show up like later that, like, that's a thing that happens across the W. Like, that's why often media members will be like, hey, isn't that, you know, so-and-so, you know, Lonnie White sitting in the back row of the Sparks game there? Like, wait a second, that player was cut. Yes, that like, there's some, you know, fudging in a variety of ways. Definitely excited to see kind of how that bangs out. But also, I'm AD, like Antonia, I'm excited about because experienced enough, has some skill, but also, as we talked about, that big Emma Miesemann, the white whale, as you might want to call it, or whatever the term is, that Cheryl Reeve trying to finally get that super big superstar free agent.
Last
any other final thought?
Yeah, positive. Like, this team's going to be pissed all year. Like,
oh yeah,
Cheryl's going to be pissed as soon as she's happy now. She's stand-up comedian Cheryl now. We love Cheryl Reeve. I'm so appreciative for all of the videos and clips that she gives me where I ask a question and she's like, I know it'll go viral. And I'm like, yes, you do, Cheryl. Appreciate it now. But once that regular season starts, like, this team they take all of this personal. So when Fee comes back, it is going to be a ticked off Nafisa Collier. K-Mac and Corner going to be ticked. And when you have a ticked off Cheryl Reeve, things usually go right.
Yeah. And hey, my faces might be, you know, some of my quotes and face might be stapled to a pin board or whatever they call it. But hey, just giving my thoughts, giving my insight. Any final thoughts on the Minnesota Lynx 2026 off season, in season, upcoming season, anything like that?
I mean, just what I'd say is, if you are in Minnesota and haven't gotten out to Lynx games, they're just a ton of fun. Like, I know I have crossover with Gophers. I have crossover with Wolves. I think a lot of just basketball fans sometimes need like coaxing to go to their first Lynx game. But like, I never hear people say they regret it. And this year, the Upper Bowl is going to be open quite a bit. I've heard that they're thinking about opening it for every game. The tickets are going to be a little bit more affordable. Like, just go check it out. Like, it is a good product. It's fun. The atmosphere is great. Like, that would just be my last thing. Is this might be a year where, yes, they're not sitting here as the 1 seed the entire season cover to cover. But like, if you haven't gone to a Lynx game yet, you're not going to regret it. Just go check them out.
I feel like we should make sure it's Open the Bowl. To close out this episode, I just want to say thank you, Andrew, but also thank you to listeners for listening and supporting independent WNBA coverage. Winsidr's been doing this for a long time, and it only works because of this community. So thank you.